Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try, money always slips through your fingers? There's a forbidden coin hidden from most eyes, yet many unknowingly touch it, and it's the reason you can never save a dime. Do you know what it is? I, Barak, am here to reveal the secret. In Babylon, a city of great wealth, where the markets were always bustling and the streets pulsed with the energy of trade, there lived Zakar. He didn't believe in luck. To him, everything was about control, calculations, and the cold power of reason. Beside him, there was Nadir, the opposite, a carefree man light-hearted about life. On a typical day, the two of them met at the market. Zakar, with a strategic mind, noticed something happening in the distance. The wealthy were gathering in secret, exchanging something that seemed to be more than just coins. They have something I don't know, Nadir, Zakar said, eyes sharp. They have the forbidden coin. Forbidden coin? Nadir laughed, dismissing Zakar's words. I'm not one for secrets or mysteries, my friend. Money is just paper, metal, a means of exchange. Life is more than that. But Zakar knew that Nadir's response was the same as everyone trapped in the cycle of poverty. Then explain it to me, Zakar, Nadir said, feeling doubt stir within him. Why, no matter how hard I try, can I never save a fortune? Why do I only dream of riches, but never hold them in my hands? Zakar smiled, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. Nadir, the secret to wealth isn't about chasing more, but knowing what to do with what you already have. The forbidden coin isn't made of metal. It's made of choices. And when you make the wrong ones, you feed the vicious cycle of poverty. Nadir furrowed his brow. But what am I doing wrong? What do you mean by these choices? Zakar looked deep into Nadir's eyes, as if preparing him for a great revelation. I'll tell you, but first, you must understand the true meaning of wealth. There's an invisible trap that keeps us poor, Nadir, Zakar said. We believe that if we have more money, more things, more pleasure, we'll be happy and rich. But what happens is we spend recklessly, and the money slips through our fingers like sand. That is the cycle of poverty. Nadir, still confused, asked, So what should I do? How can I break the cycle? Zakar smiled and calmly revealed Babylon's greatest secret, the forbidden coin. It's not something you find in the marketplace, but something you build within yourself. The forbidden coin is the key to breaking the cycle of poverty. Nadir, when you learn to control it, when you transform your choices, that's when true abundance will enter your life. With these words, Zakar set in motion a journey that would change Nadir's destiny, and perhaps his own as well. Nadir's mind raced with the mystery of the forbidden coin. He was a man who lived for the present, seeking pleasure in the fleeting moments of life, but now he found himself questioning everything. If wealth isn't just about money, then what is it about? He asked, looking at Zakar with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Zakar smiled knowingly, as if he had anticipated Nadir's doubt. It's not just about saving coins in a chest, Nadir. It's about how you view your life, your work, your choices. The forbidden coin is the coin of discipline, the coin of wisdom, and those who truly understand it control their fate. Nadir chuckled, shaking his head. Discipline? Wisdom? I thought wealth was about taking chances, being bold, but you speak as though the key is in avoiding risks, in playing it safe. Zakar's eyes softened as he leaned closer, his voice becoming even more serious. The boldest risk is the one taken without understanding the consequences. Nadir, true wealth comes from knowing when to act and when to hold back. So, you're saying I need to stop taking risks? Nadir asked, his voice tinged with frustration. No, Zakar replied, shaking his head gently. I'm saying that the best risks are the ones you're prepared for. It's not about avoiding the unknown. It's about choosing wisely when you step into it. The air around them seemed to grow heavy, and Nadir found himself caught between the thrill of the unknown and the need for discipline. But what if I never learn? What if I make the wrong choices over and over again? He asked, his voice quieter now. Zakar's eyes gleamed with quiet wisdom. You will make mistakes, Nadir. Everyone does. The difference is, those who are truly wealthy learn from those mistakes. They don't repeat them. They use them to sharpen their understanding of how to make better decisions next time. But what if I still don't know what to do? Nadir pressed. How can I learn this, Zakar? How can I break free from this endless cycle? Zakar leaned back, his expression thoughtful. The first step, Nadir, is to stop chasing illusions. Stop believing that wealth is a destination. Wealth is a journey, a way of thinking. Nadir looked puzzled. A journey? But what does that mean? Zakar's voice became deep and soothing, like the river Euphrates itself, flowing calmly over ancient stones. It means understanding the value of every choice you make. It means controlling your desires and directing your energy toward what truly matters. Money isn't wealth, Nadir. Discipline is. Discipline. Nadir repeated the word, testing its weight on his tongue. It sounded strange to him, almost foreign, but something in his heart stirred. For the first time, he began to wonder if Zakar might be right. Could it really be this simple? Was he really just missing discipline all along? Zakar stood up as though preparing to leave. The most dangerous mistake, Nadir, is to think that you can't change. The richest men in Babylon didn't grow their fortunes by chance. They grew them by understanding the value of patience, control, and the choices they made every day. The forbidden coin is within your reach, but you must be willing to claim it. For weeks, Nadir struggled with what Zakar had shared. The more he thought about it, the more he realized how much he'd been chasing after fleeting pleasures and instant gratifications, only to watch his dreams slip away. He had lived as if the world owed him something, never questioning the choices that had kept him in poverty. One day, as the sun began to set over the mighty city of Babylon, Nadir decided to test what he had learned. He walked into the marketplace with newfound resolve, the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. As he approached a merchant selling fine silks, he felt the old urge to splurge, to indulge in something beautiful but unnecessary. For a moment, the familiar temptation washed over him. But then, a thought entered his mind. Is this really what I need? Or am I just chasing another fleeting pleasure? He stepped back, making a conscious decision to save his money. He walked away from the merchant's stall, feeling a strange sense of power and control. Nadir's next test came the following week when he was presented with an opportunity to invest in a new venture. He had the money, but something told him to pause. Was this the right choice? He sought counsel from Zakar, who listened patiently before offering his wisdom. Don't chase opportunities for the sake of excitement. Nadir, look at them with clear eyes. Ask yourself, is this aligned with your goals, or is it another distraction? Nadir took Zakar's advice to heart. He spent days researching the venture, studying its risks and rewards, and ultimately decided not to invest. It wasn't the right time. The feeling of letting go of the quick temptation filled him with satisfaction. He had learned to choose, not just react. As the months passed, Nadir continued to make wiser choices, slowly building his savings and investing in what truly mattered. He no longer sought to impress others with his wealth, but instead focused on steady, thoughtful growth. His life began to change in ways he never imagined. One evening, Zakar found him again in the market. Nadir, now looking more prosperous, greeted his old friend with a smile. I finally understand, Zakar. It wasn't the money I was after, it was the discipline, the ability to make better decisions. I'm not rich yet, but I'm on the right path. Zakar nodded, his face proud. You've taken the first steps, Nadir. You've broken the cycle of poverty. The real challenge, though, is consistency. Keep making the right choices. Keep valuing discipline over desire. And you'll find that true wealth, the wealth that lasts, will follow. Nadir smiled, a sense of peace settling over him. He knew that his journey wasn't over, but he also knew that the forbidden coin was no longer a mystery. It was something he held within himself, something that would guide him through every decision, every challenge, every step forward. And so, with a heart full of wisdom and a future full of promise, Nadir stepped into his new life. The cycle of poverty was broken, and in its place, a new cycle had begun. The cycle of wealth, built on choices, discipline, and a true understanding of what it meant to be rich. As the years passed, Nadir's life transformed in ways he could hardly have imagined in the days of his struggles. The temptations that once controlled him no longer had power. He no longer measured his success by the size of his purse or the number of his possessions, but by the quality of the choices he made. The forbidden coin, now firmly grasped in his heart, had taught him the art of restraint and discipline. His wealth began to grow, but not in the way he had once expected. It wasn't about sudden riches or shortcuts to fortune. It was a steady, consistent climb that required patience, careful planning, and most importantly, wise decision-making. Nadir realized that the path to true prosperity was not paved with impulsive actions, but with thoughtful steps toward long-term goals. Nadir's new perspective shifted his approach to everything. He learned to invest his resources wisely, not just his money, but his time, his energy, and his relationships. He built businesses with a foundation of integrity and fairness. The way he treated others, his employees, his partners, even his competitors, became a reflection of his inner wealth. He had learned that generosity, trust, and respect were far more valuable than any coin. Yet, the most profound change was in how Nadir saw his own life. It was no longer about accumulating material possessions or chasing after fleeting pleasures. It was about creating something of lasting value. As he sat in the quiet of his home one evening, he thought back to the days when he had been consumed by the desire to keep up with others, to buy more, to have more. Those days now felt distant. I used to think wealth was about what I owned, Nadir said to himself, as he gazed at the setting sun. But now I see it's about what I create. It's about how I live, how I make my choices, and how I use what I have to help others. He realized that the most significant form of wealth was not in the things one acquired, but in the legacy one left behind. Zakar, ever the wise mentor, continued to guide Nadir as his wealth grew. Their conversations, once centered around the basics of discipline and savings, now revolved around how to use wealth for the betterment of society. The true test of wealth, Zakar once said, is not how much you can accumulate, but how much you can give without diminishing yourself. Nadir took this to heart. He began to look beyond his own needs and started to focus on what he could offer the world. He understood that wealth, when hoarded selfishly, becomes a burden, but wealth, when shared, multiplies. And so he sought to create opportunities for others, giving back to the city that had given him so much. One day, Nadir had a vision. He envisioned a Babylon where every child, regardless of their background, had the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to succeed. He realized that true wealth was in the education he could provide, the opportunities he could open up, and so he began funding schools, places where children could learn not just to read and write, but to think critically, to make wise choices, and to build their own futures. At first, many were skeptical. They questioned why Nadir, a man who had once been focused solely on his own success, was now investing in the futures of others. Isn't he just wasting his wealth? They murmured. But Nadir was undeterred. He knew that the greatest investment anyone could make was in the potential of others. Over time, Nadir's schools became a success, and the children who attended them grew into leaders, scholars, and entrepreneurs. They understood the value of wisdom, of choosing the right path, just as Nadir had learned to do. And as these students prospered, they passed on the lessons they had learned to others, creating a ripple effect that spread throughout Babylon. Zakar, who had watched Nadir's transformation with quiet pride, came to him one evening. "You've built more than wealth, Nadir. You've built a legacy. You've broken the cycle of poverty, not just for yourself, but for others. And that, my friend, is the true measure of wealth." Nadir smiled, his heart full of gratitude. "I could never have done this without your guidance, Zakar. You taught me that wealth is not just about the accumulation of coins. It's about the choices we make and how those choices impact the lives of others." The greatest challenge now, Nadir realized, was to remain consistent. He had learned the importance of discipline, but maintaining that discipline as his wealth grew was the true test. It was easy to become distracted by the allure of more money, more power, more recognition. But Nadir knew that the path he had chosen was one of balance. As the years continued to pass, Nadir's wealth continued to grow, but more importantly, so did his sense of purpose. He was no longer driven by the fear of not having enough, but by the desire to give others the same opportunities he had found. He no longer sought to impress with his riches. Instead, he sought to inspire with his actions. One afternoon, As he stood on the balcony of his home, looking out over the bustling city of Babylon, Nadir finally understood the true meaning of wealth. It wasn't the gold or the fine silks or the grand buildings. It was the legacy he was leaving behind, the lives he was changing, the wisdom he was sharing. Nadir had broken the cycle of poverty not just for himself, but for an entire generation. And in doing so, he had discovered the greatest treasure of all, the richness of a life well lived.